everybody. My name is Dr. Kristen Donnelly, and I am one of the good doctors of Abbey Research. At Abbey Research, we deeply believe that curiosity can change the world because it's, the only thing that really has. So we're banking that it's going to keep doing it. The thing is, when we ask it questions and listen to the answers, our worldview expands because we begin to understand that our way of being human isn't the only way. And this series is in service of that idea. It's called Welcome to My World, and I get the privilege of chatting to fascinating folks all over the world who are different than me, which is literally every person, about something in their lives that we should know about to enrich our human experience. And today is absolutely no exception. I am joined by another Clubhouse friend, which is just one of my favorite subsects these days and how many gifts Clubhouse has given me. We're talking to Yvonne Marchese today, who is a podcast host, the Late Bloomer Living podcast, which I think is so much fun. Professional photographer, a mom, and a wife. As she neared 50, she realized that she was telling herself a disempowering story about getting old, which unfortunately, like the rest of the world, gave her a lot of evidence for. So I can't wait to hear about that. And it was affecting her health and her relationships. She believes it's never too late to pursue a dream, and the story that we tell ourselves has tremendous power. Completely agree. Changing her story about aging inspired her to start this Late Bloomer Living podcast, and she's on a mission to redefine society's ideas on aging and exploring how to live a life by design. I love all of that. Yvonne, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, let's crack on. Let's talk about this process of telling yourself a new story. When did you realize that the one you were telling yourself was so toxic in a way?
I think one of the key moments was I got up one morning after hitting the snooze button, as I so often did at that point in my life. Mornings were like, ugh. Trying to get up because I was staying up late editing photos. My kids were younger at the time. And, it was one of those moments where the kids were running late again. We were going to be late for school again. And, if I found myself yelling at my son, "Where's your backpack? Where's your lunchbox?" No. And by the time I got to the car, he was crying. And I was so mad at myself because here I was almost 50 and I was having my own little tantrum, because I got up late. I was the problem. My kids are kids, they're gonna need wrangling in the morning. They're gonna need all that. So I was kicking myself, and I realized that it was a pattern and that there was a lot of that going on for me. And a lot of it was, I started doing a lot of self-helpy, like exploration, listening to a lot of podcasts, reading a lot of books. And I came across Mel Robbins' book, The 5-Second Rule. And it was like a complete aha, so related to her story about hitting the snooze button, and decided to try getting up every morning, setting the alarm across the room so I'd have to actually put my feet on the floor. And I started a little morning routine of doing meditation and exercise and affirmations and the whole thing, right? And it was really hard at first. Don't discount that because I'm not a morning person. But it started to get easier and I started to feel a lot better. And then it started to become a real touchstone for me. And after a few months, my son randomly said to me, "You seem happier, Mom." And that was like, I got to keep going with this.
Yeah.
And when I realized all that, and I realized how disempowering the voice in my head was all through my 40s, I had a lot of health issues in my 40s, and I was constantly like, if I started exercising, I'd injure myself. I had bursitis. I had, back problems, just all the stuff. And I was constantly telling myself I was too old, in different ways. And lots of evidence around me, as you said, in society, lots of reinforcement of that idea all around. But when I started to feel better, I started to realize oh, wow, if I can stay healthy, if I can keep exercising, I have a certain amount of control over this, hopefully. If I stay healthy, if I'm able to live a nice long life, I might have 20, 30 years ahead of me of productivity, of being able to do something with my life. Wow, what could that be? And then I started to get really excited. And that's when I got the idea for the podcast, was as an exploration of that idea. And hopefully I figured there must be other people feeling the way I feel, that where you just feel stuck in the mud, same old self, same old problems, same old routines, same old patterns. How do you get out of that? And so I thought, well, what if I did a podcast where I interview people and we talk about that place where they were stuck and they were up against that and they found a way around that wall or over that wall or whatever it was, to talk about, what that process is and how do you do it and what it could possibly lead to. And then I started, after doing it for a year, I was like, wow, we really need to rethink aging, all told.
Yeah.
Like what's possible as we age. We've got to rethink this, you know?
So what's been your favorite part of this so far?
My favorite part is this one-to-one conversation thing. I love it. Oh my gosh. Meeting people, like the meeting people in Clubhouse and then having them on as guests and getting to know them more. And these conversations that are guided in a way, it's around a particular topic, but you're able to go deep with somebody in a conversation that go like I like cocktail parties and small talk and all that stuff, just so uncomfortable for me. But one-on-one conversation where you can really kind of dig in, it's just so much fun getting to know people.
I agree. I am a huge believer that honestly, that small talk is just because none of us know how to talk to each other anymore. And so if we could figure out how to have more meaningful conversations, then none of us would dread small talk, but that's a separate TED talk. What I would love to know, so I'm sitting here, full disclosure to the viewers, I am 38 as we record this. And I have never really thought about aging. And some of that is because I don't have kids. And so I'm not thinking about, what age I'm going to be when they are this age or what have you. And the other is that my mother has really good skin, even into her like late 70s. So I look at her and I'm like, oh, I don't have to worry about it. To kind of my detriment, like I forget to put on sunscreen all the time, so it's kind of everything.
Yeah.
But I am aware that it is a massive preoccupation for a lot of people, particularly women.
Mhm.
And I wondered if you had any thoughts onto why we are so obsessed with aging.
Well, I think because there's this disempowering story around aging that, um, I think women in particular, there comes a time where I've heard that there's this invisibility cloak that all of a sudden you feel, let's say, so in your youth, in your 20s, there's, you get attention for the way you look,
Okay.
right? That you get to a certain age, that goes away. I think that is something where you're like, wow, where did that go? But what's on the other side of that actually is this freedom
Mm.
that we don't know about, that is like, wow, once you're free of that, there's so much possibility because you're not worried, because there is a certain amount of invisibility that then you can step into and kind of create your own image, your own persona, your own ability to step into things and speak your mind and say what you think. And so the fear, I think, comes from um not being relevant anymore.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay.
If we go past looks, I think, and it's this idea of, you know, I was laid off when I was 40,
Mm.
which led me to starting my photography business.
Okay.
And that layoff left me in a place of feeling like a failure and feeling like I had no future. And feeling like I was too old to be properly employed.
Mm.
And I started to want to have a sense of control over my own destiny.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so that's why when I found the idea of doing photography, it was like, oh, that's something I could control my own schedule. A lot of it was around control. And I've since found that I am truly unemployable. I don't want to ever work for anybody else ever again. I want to have control over my own schedule, control of my own destiny. And so I've not only drawn a line in the sand, I've built a wall around the idea of, no, I'm not going back to that ever, because I want that control.
I think that's fascinating, of the idea, because I mean, so when I hit my mid 30s, my girlfriends and I all talk about how we just don't care anymore. And that when I was 28, I would have never shown up somewhere in leggings and a t-shirt and a sports bra, and now I'm like, I can fly that way, it's fine. And that's even before the pandemic. That's even before. There's so much more understanding of your own skin, and I think in a certain way, the older we get, the more we realize how little we know.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can enter into a state of receivership in a certain way that we can't in our 20s, because we're so convinced that we have to know everything still. And there's a great, as you and I are having this conversation, there's a huge national conversation happening around aging regarding Taylor Swift's album, and how a 32-year-old is singing a 22-year-old's lyrics, and what that is all kind of looking at.
I know nothing about this.
Oh,
wow.
okay.
See, I'm so removed from the zeitgeist.
Well, it doesn't matter. So essentially what's happening is that because of a whole host of reasons, Taylor is re-recording all of her music. And she's re-recording. So the album that just dropped recently is the one that she released when she was 22. And she is in her, early mid 30s now. And it's all the same lyrics. She doesn't change any of the lyrics. And one of the lines is, how can you know everything at 18 and be completely lost at 22? And I was like, do I remember that feeling of being completely convinced I knew everything at 17, and then waking up at 23 and being like, I know nothing.
Right.
I know nothing. And that just keeps going as you get older. You can find comfort in your own skin rather than the social acceptance of being an expert in something that you're not actually an expert in. And kind of what that looks like. And I think it's that tension. And I mean, she's also talking about age different romances and some other things like that. She's talking a lot about age, and she doesn't even realize it. So a lot of the think pieces that came out this last weekend have been a lot about what does it mean for a 33-year-old to sing a 22-year-old's lyrics.
Interesting. I'm going to have to go look at that. That's fascinating.
And what the things that, like, she wouldn't write that lyric anymore. And it came out when I was in my, mid to late 20s. So I was always a little bit, I'm a little older than her, that all of her emotions felt a little bit removed. And it was always me looking, oh, sweetheart, I remember when I felt like that, And now that I am even older and realizing, like, I completely remember when I felt like that. And I also can feel that I can feel that thing of being 22 and thinking your whole life is over because the boy doesn't like you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of, what does that mean? And this heartbreak you'll never ever recover from. And then she in the lyric tells you it's been only 3 months, and you're like, oh, sweet summer child. You'll be fine. But I think some of this really ties into a lot of what you just said, is that we think as we get older, we have a perception in youth, as we get older, we become less relevant, not only to the society, but to the people in our lives that we love.
Mm-hmm.
And I think pop culture especially does that with women, because we talk a lot about, the representation of mothers in pop culture is never good. And like in Disney, they're always dead. And so women just kind of keep fading away. And so I love that part of what you're doing is reclaiming the narrative and rewriting it and saying, we don't fade anywhere.
Right. There, and part of it is like the ageism exists. It's everywhere. It's in advertising. It's in every conversation. You talk to somebody and they'll say, I have, 30 years of experience. I started when I was 12. It's like a little joke, but it's this acknowledgement that, oh, I'm not old. I just was a wonderkind, right? There's a little wink and a nod to the idea that aging is bad.
Yeah.
And the more I look at this, I'm like, wow, there's so much opportunity here.
Yeah.
There's so much opportunity for us to stop in when you get to mid. And I'll tell you, my midlife, I realize only as I was 50, I realized that my midlife journey really started in my mid 30s. You may not even know that about where you're at right now.
I don't know anything. So
It's fascinating. Like looking back, I go, oh, everything that is happening now was like a started back then when I was questioning where I was going and looking at my career and going, ooh, do I really want to do this anymore? I don't think so.
yeah.
And it's just incredible, like the potential in midlife to have an effect on where we're going to the 20 to 30 years from now, like the choices that we're making right now. And we do, part of it is we don't visualize, you don't think about getting old. I didn't either, not back then. We don't visualize what we're going to be like when we're older.
Yeah, that's
When
true.
you're
Yeah,
young,
you have to do it consciously.
yeah, when you're young, you visualize, oh, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to do this. You've got all these
Yeah.
visualizations for when you are an adult, but you see yourself as a young adult, right? I think. And I say, let's have some visualization going on for where we're going from here for that second chapter, second, third chapter, whatever it is.
Yeah. And we make fun of midlife crises a lot too,
Yeah.
instead of kind of seeing them for what they are, which is a good time to reframe your values. Yeah. I mean, I turned 37 in the middle of a global pandemic. And so my kind of late 30s is defined by a lot of not only my being in my late 30s, but doing what everyone on the planet has done, which is look around and be like, oh, do I still want to do what we did? Do I still want to do that?
Yeah.
And what does that look like? And we rewrote, Erin and I rewrote our whole business plan and said, like, we're not going to do things that aren't fun anymore.
Oh, good for you.
We're getting rid of all of this. This isn't fun. This is fun. Let's chase this and figure out how to make money off of this instead of continuing to shove our round pegs into square holes.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And it's
yeah, you've gotten me so excited because I think a lot of times we just keep doing the same old because it's what we've always done.
Oh, absolutely.
And what we've been prescribed is the thing to do, right? And where there's really a chance for us to go, no, I'm going to do this the fun way. If we could just stop and listen to what's going on inside here and take a little step into it with a little bit of curiosity. I love that you say that your podcast is powered by curiosity. That is, I think, the key to the whole thing is to stay curious about yourself.
Yes.
You're not the same as you were yesterday.
No.
You're never going to be the same as you were yesterday. So why not design where you're going from here?
I love it. Yeah. And we were talking a lot about one of my more recent TEDx's. I said, like, there is no such thing as back to normal. There's only creating something new. And that's not just in the context of COVID and of everything else. There is never going back because, like you just said, we are always moving forward. And the iterations of who we are carry the knowledge from yesterday. And that shapes us a little bit. And we're a little bit different now that we've done what we did yesterday. So everything is forward momentum, even when we feel stuck. Everything is forward momentum. And so if we harness that in a continual growth, then actually it's simpler to reframe aging because it just means we get to continue becoming something new.
Yeah. And I contend too that something new is probably something that's been in you the whole time, dying
Absolutely.
to get out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you had, kind of, this is such a podcast question, I recognize it, but I really want to hear your answer for this. Is if you could gather everybody and tell them one thing, whole planet, whatever, what would it be?
Ooh. On anything?
On anything. What do you want them to know in their core?
It really is the theme of my podcast that it's never too late to reinvent yourself. It's just never too late.
I love it. Any other closing comments that you'd like to leave our folks with before you and I have to hit pause and take this conversation back to Clubhouse?
Oh my goodness. Just I would say, you know, I ask that you stop and get curious and give yourself a minute to pause every day for a few minutes, hopefully in the morning, maybe, because that's a very potent time to do it.
Mm.
Stop and get curious about yourself for a little bit and let yourself tune in to what you want and then go into your day. That's all.
I love it. I love that word potent. I'm going to be chewing on that for a little bit. That's a great thing. Yvonne, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I love being here.
This has been great. Pals, if you enjoyed our conversation because you loved everything Yvonne said, which why wouldn't you? Make sure to subscribe to her podcast. The link is going to be below in the show notes. If you liked the vibe of the conversation because you also want to get curious about other people, the good news is that I have these kind of conversations all the time because I am silly lucky. And I also decided to start having fun. And these are. So this is why we've designed the YouTube channel this way. Please hit subscribe and ring that notification bell to always so you don't miss a single opportunity to cultivate your curiosity. We've got so many opportunities for that here on the YouTube and also on our podcast, and everything else. The links will be below. My name is Dr. Kristen Donnelly. This has been Welcome to My World. My incredible guest today has been Yvonne Marchese, who is the host of absolutely, I use the word incredible all the time, but I really do love it, a podcast about opening yourself up to the possibility of newness at every single numerical age, and how that doesn't have anything to do with potential or humanity. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.